Stephen, you're live.
What's going on, everybody? That may be the best hook point we've had yet in the 3-year history of the show. So I think what Stephen meant to say, had he known he was on camera or had his technology working for him, is today we are talking marketing. So for those of you guys who have seen the show, you're watching Real Talk with me, Brian Poduska. And what we do on the show is we bring in local business owners, entrepreneurs in the DFW area, and we've been bigger than that as well. But we bring on local business owners, generally speaking, to basically shine a spotlight on them. What we also do is we intertwine or deep dive on a business topic, and that business topic changes every month. So this month we have a little bit different cadence here because last week was the final week of the month from our calendar standpoint. But Lennon was gracious enough to give us a bonus week of airtime to try to fundraise for my son's hockey national championship hockey experience. So grateful for that opportunity. But now we're back at it, and we're going to talk marketing. So what does marketing mean? What does it mean from a personal standpoint, from a business standpoint? What is the definition of marketing? How does it apply to your business, and how do you do it well? That's what we're going to dive into throughout the show. We have Stephen Beaver, who you saw there. You didn't hear from him up front, but you will see and hear from him hopefully here in a minute or two. And he has a fantastic guest on today, very knowledgeable in her industry. So look forward to meeting her and getting a little bit deeper into her business and what she's all about. In the meantime, I'm going to just real briefly, again, talk about my business, which is Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. We are a full-service real estate brokerage focusing on property management. So our wheelhouse clients are those intentional investors who have multiple properties and don't want to be involved in them, but they love the investment returns that they get on their property. And frankly, that is a vehicle that they use to invest. And we'll get into a little bit of investment talk here later on in the show. It's usually not their only investment, but because of that, they do not want to be in the day-to-day operations of that business. So that's where Real Property Management comes in. That's what our company does. We also help analyze, acquire, obviously manage, and then we can sell on the back end. Like I said, we're full service. So that's our brokerage, Real Property Management Focus, where we focus on your real estate investments. Now, you're watching Real Talk with me, Brian Poduska. We have rotating co-hosts. As I said, we bring on guests of those co-hosts and we deep dive into business topics, but we are also part of a larger network called #Thedifference. So it is a podcast that is, basically a daily opportunity to dive into different areas. Again, with the underlying theme and foundation is local business ownership, local entrepreneurism, and how we can all come together and raise that bar for each and every one of us who do own a local business. So definitely check out some of our other hosts, our other co-hosts. We have some new shows coming on to The Difference, some of which I'm going to be a part of. So I look forward to that opportunity. But still, please do stay tuned. It's called #Thedifference. You'll find us on YouTube, Facebook, several other different venues. You can see it kind of in the background. But check us out. There's a lot of great content out there. And like I said, we've got a lot of really cool stuff coming up. So that's enough about me. That's enough about The Difference. Lyndon, if Steven's back there, bring him on, and hopefully we can hear him this time.
All right. So, hey, here it is. All right. This is Real Talk with Brian Poduska. Hey, brought to you by The Difference. Hey, we're talking about marketing. Everybody talks about marketing, but nobody really knows about marketing. Now you're going to find out about marketing. I just got a question for you. You got service, you got price, you got product, you got marketing. Which one's the most important? Guess which one we're going to talk about? The most important one. I can prove it. McDonald's doesn't make the best hamburger. They don't have the best service. They don't have the best price. Well, maybe not. But they got the best marketing. They sold more hamburgers than anybody else. So that's why we're going to talk about marketing today, so that you can sell more than anybody else. That's the 30 seconds that you were going to get. And that's the 30 seconds that you do get. Now, Brian, is it my turn, or should we just like take me out and put me back in? I don't know.
As I say, better late than never, right? So thanks for that. But I honestly think your attention grabber of you just standing there, not really looking in the camera, could have been, as handsome as you are. I think that might have grabbed some people's attention. So,
you've always been my favorite, and I'm not saying it just because you said that I am doing it, but I'm not saying that. Right?
Well, thanks, buddy. Hey, thanks for joining me today, and I want to say thank you I thank Lendon for giving us the extra airtime. You made it possible by giving up your spot last week as a regular spot. So, as we talked about, you thought it was important enough, and you realized the importance of me being able to attend my son's, national championship hockey run, which they fell a little bit short, but they did represent the state of Texas very well. So the state of Denver, or state of Colorado, Denver, Colorado, a team from Denver won the national championship. They were good. They actually played in the round robin round. They played my son's team and handled them fairly easily. So I think the best team did win in this case, just based on what I saw. But I did want to say thank you for giving up your spot, or just pushing your spot for a week. So I appreciate the flexibility, and I appreciate you.
You can never go back. You can never go back and watch that again. You only get one shot at that. So that was my pleasure. Anytime. So, I'm thankful for that. And I'm glad that your guest, who was lined up for last week, was able to join us for this week. So tell us a little bit about your guest, and then we'll give you time, of course, to talk about Stephen and all the things that he has going on. But I do want to bring in your guest so we can just kind of launch into the topic of marketing, and then let's give both your guest and then yourself a little bit of time to talk about your business. So it's all yours, my man. Okay, so here's the thing. Everybody thinks they have it hard in marketing. Nobody has it as hard as marketing as the financial advisors. They have so many things they can't do, they can't say. It's ridiculous. So anybody that's been in the business, I'm not supposed to say how many years, but has been in the business for a while, that knows things that most financial advisors don't know because they've seen it all, the ups and downs. If that person is got a system, we need to pay attention to, because if you could just use part of what she's doing and some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about, and it's been talked about on the other awesome shows, then you can make it. So, but here's the thing about marketing. It's very simple, but it's not easy. And that's where it falls. And it's the only thing that you got to keep remembering is if you're doing the right thing, you got to keep doing it, and you got to be consistent, right? And so that's what she's done for a while. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Monica Kaufman. She is amazing. You're going to love her. And where is she? I mean,
right here.
There she is.
Yeah. Hi, Monica.
You look marvelous. Simply marvelous.
Thank you for bringing me on. I appreciate it. So, hi.
That was my pleasure.
Okay, so I am a financial advisor. I'm also a certified financial planner and director of financial planning for a registered investment advisory firm. And what I do and what my job is to help you deal with all the different areas that affect your planning that feed into your hitting your goals, identifying your goals and getting there. And then the investment management team comes in and we manage the assets consistent with your tolerance for risk and getting you to your goals. So I get to work with all the fun stuff, and I get to tell people, hey, I'm giving you license to dream. The first thing I need you to do is to describe for me what you want. And sometimes people literally stand back and they go, hey, what does that mean? I'm like, okay, I want you to dream. I want you to stand back and tell me what you want. And usually they're stumped. They've never been allowed to do this or told to do it. But if I don't know where we're going, then I have no guarantee of getting you there. So, but anyways, so, and in terms of marketing, the issue is, to be truthful, I can't make promises. I can't tell you what the returns are going to be. I can't guarantee you anything. I can only say that this is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it, and this is how we're going to assess, and to be consistent for you to help make sure that we're on track, that nothing has changed. And if something has changed, that we reassess and we rebuild and we work it through. So my industry, you know this, everybody knows this, has earned somewhat of a bad reputation over the years, and justly so. And it's been because people have made promises they could not keep. And also, we have a problem that people don't necessarily know that they're getting bad information or that they're getting a promise that can't be kept. And so people are vulnerable. So yeah, there's a lot of rules on me, and that's the way it has to be. So
yeah, so that you are one of the most highly regulated industries, and it's funny. I think you actually may be the second, maybe third financial planner, financial advisor. I'm going to lump you guys all together. I know that's not the case, but just generally speaking, you're all governed by the same FINRA regulations and whatnot. Or I may be overstepping by saying that.
No.
But what I can tell you is I've had many folks who are kind of in your shoes or in your profession say that they want to come on the show, but they haven't found the right regulatory way to do it. So I hope that's not getting you in trouble, but I'm just saying that it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And here's the thing. We're not talking about returns. I can't guarantee them. All right. I will tell you that because we're an RIA, we are governed underneath the SEC. So it's a little bit different. And to some degree, I mean, it's really just going after, am I putting the client first? Am I consistent with the client's ability to tolerate the ups and downs and the risk? And do they understand what we're doing for them? Are we meeting their needs, and are we staying consistent and focused on them first and foremost in everything we do? So yeah, it's tough. But again, when you understand and you embrace the rules and understand that the rules are there to protect them, it becomes a little bit easier. It actually becomes a lot easier. It's making friends with the rules and understanding and adapting to them.
Awesome. Well, I like what you said there. When you work with a client, you kind of give them license to dream, I think is what you called it, or give them a license to dream. So that sparked a question that I had is, what's the coolest or maybe most off the wall dream that somebody's come back at you with?
You know what? I don't even know. I'd have to think about that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, by the end of the show, maybe one of those crazy ones will pop in your head. I got to imagine, like, people say, I want to retire at 50 and or age 50. And I don't, they have no clue how they get there, but that's something that they want to dream about. Right.
I've actually had conversations with a lot of people who are in their 30s, and they are working towards it. So when they say they want to retire, they're part of that financially independent retire early crowd. Usually they've started. Okay. They just want to make sure that they stay on track and they maximize it out. But the other thing that they're looking for, in prior experiences, how do I manage all the other pieces? So if I retire at 50, okay, I'm going to have to get my own health insurance starting that year, unless I have retiree medical, which most of them don't. So there's always something that bounces around it. There's always pieces to the puzzle you have to figure out. So how do I do this? How do I do that? When can I fit this in? So it's always a challenge, and it's fun.
Well, and that's the cool thing about your business is the pieces. There's a lot of pieces out there. It's just, how do you put the best puzzle together for given what your end goals and needs and dreams are for your client, right?
There's an old saying, and I think it's from Lewis Carroll. If you don't know where you're going, then any road can get you there. If you do know where you're going, we can have a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C, and we can figure things out and adjust along the way. But yeah, it is fun. It's a challenge when somebody isn't clear as to what their expectations are. Or the bigger challenge is when somebody has unrealistic expectations and they can't get there. Or let's say they've worked with someone who has made promises that are unrealistic so that they can hit a dream. And then you have to stand back and say, okay, we need to slow this down and have a conversation, because either the goals have to change, something has to change, because this doesn't work. So
before we get into the marketing part, I just wanted you to expand on something. This is one of the reasons why I like you so much, is because of the depth of knowledge that you have. But it's not the depth of knowledge you have, it's the depth of knowledge that you don't have that you're willing to figure out. In other words, when somebody says, I want to invest in Bitcoin, you will do the research on all the companies. Most financial advisors don't even know where to look, okay, much less do the research. They'll just say, yeah, this is it. But you'll actually go in the background and see the CFO and the CEO and what they've done here. And 20 years ago, this person actually got a federal injunction against whatever. I know you can't talk a lot about that, but the fact that you actually do research and figure things out. I mean, you know a lot. When I said that, you knew I was, but if there is something, and even if you do know, you'll still do the research to make sure it's up there. And I think that's because as a financial advisor, how can they advise if they're just putting you in a box? It's like, oh, you make this much, you do this, you fit here. That's not cool, in my opinion. So anyway.
Well, and to some degree, that's the model that existed. Okay, so what you're describing and that you don't like, what happened was back in the 80s and in the 90s, what advisors did was they came up with different models. They would interview people and they would plug and play, and that would allow them to scale up. The problem is that the market has expanded and what clients need has shifted. And then the other problem is that it's very difficult to find somebody who fits into an exact box. I don't know anybody who fits into an exact box. So we have to manage for the client and for the client's risk. Yes, we have specific portfolios that the team manages, but things are flexible and things have to be adjusted to fit the client's need. And sometimes, we have to be able to stand back and say, hey, we need to do this. But thank you for that statement. I mean, I've heard from a mentor that his biggest skill is that he's the best person at looking up the tax code. So this is somebody who is in tax, and that's what he does every time somebody brings something up. It's so much easier and so much faster to look something up and say, hey, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to find out before I shoot from the hip and give you some wrong information. Let me ask the question. Let me see what I get and then come back. And frequently, I'm also the person going around and saying, hey, I'm not the expert in this, but let's find somebody who is. And it's a lot easier. My job is if I'm sitting there and I'm working with the different puzzle pieces, what I'm looking to do sometimes is to say, okay, I need to park my ego at the side and find the other persons that are necessary to make this work. The client needs a team. They need an expertise that's outside of mine. Let me find the way that works. Okay. And that's what I like. And that's what I like about Harmony and our team is that I stay in my lane on the planning. I used to do research. I used to do economic research. I used to sit in these numbers. I didn't like that. I would much rather sit and talk to you or to any other client and say, hey, what's going on with you? What do we need to do? Where are we going? Let's find this other way. And then hand that data work off to somebody else who really enjoys it and thrives with it. So, but thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it.
No worries. So, but let's get into the marketing, because I can tell Brian is about to say that, and I don't want him to yell at you because he's got that smile, but he's got a temper you would not believe. Okay,
I'm scared.
But I know you've done a lot in the past.
My word of it.
But what are you doing currently? Because what worked 20 years ago probably isn't working now, and so you're probably shifting all the time. Are you doing something special or different that you're preparing for or doing right now that you can share with everybody?
Well, that's kind of new and that's kind of interesting. So what we're working on right now, and we're not ready to fully give people links to it or advertise any of this, but what we're working on right now is developing courses that are designed to do two things. They're not about the investing, they're about the planning pieces, and they're designed to stress two different components that are missing. The first one is competence. If 80% of the population is what the industry calls financially illiterate, what I call is unsure of what they're looking at, and they don't know how to manage it, and they don't know where to go to get information. So to empower with real information that is reliable, and then to stress confidence that they can actually manage it and that they can handle the ups and downs of whatever is coming, that they can emotionally make the right decisions and go forward, because a lot of times it's the emotions that get in our way. So those two things are designed to work together. And we're looking forward to releasing those courses. Did some training with Marisa Murgatroyd about doing a experience product and selling it out there as a course. And her framework is fantastic for actually getting people emotionally involved and staying with it, so the information that you impart can have an impact. So that's the goal. And so that's what we're looking to do, and we hope to be able to launch that soon.
Awesome.
So, so coursework, education, sounds like that's kind of a foundation of what your guys' business model is. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes and no. We're looking to build out with that and take that a little bit further.
Okay.
It used to be that people would do seminars, and then it became webinars online. And, here's the problem with that. People get information. The question is, do they process it? And then the other issue is, if you have to make shifts in how you're approaching something, you're not going to necessarily do it on average just through one webinar. So what we're looking to do is to use positive psychology to help people make those shifts so that they can make the changes and get to where they want to be. So what I'm looking to do, we've all acquired systems, habits that don't necessarily serve us. How do we make those changes? We have to make those changes over time with repetition and with support. But we're not going to make it unless we understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. We have to have an emotional commitment to make a change, because change is always difficult. So what I'm looking to do is to reach people and to give them a structure, a system that actually empowers them to make those changes and lives it. So I'm inspired by people like James Clear. I'm inspired by other people like the developers of Noom. All of that is an inspiration for us and for me to get this out there.
So your whole marketing philosophy, to put it in a nutshell, is don't teach them the facts. Teach them the stories so that it hits emotionally, so that they use the facts. Because if you don't emotionally attach to it, you don't use the facts, right?
Well, but there's also has to be another component, and that's part of it. But they have to understand that when I'm giving them this, I'm giving it to them in a structure they can use. If I give them information and they can't use it, if I give them a story and it doesn't connect with them because they can't live it, then I haven't done anything. What without how is unethical, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's huge. That's great.
So yeah,
so, just for the people that are listening, we're not talking about finances. We're talking about how to market right here. This is huge. This is should be 101 marketing right here, right? So take notes, right? So is this being recorded? Can we watch this over and over again? I think.
Of course we can. That's
okay, good. Just making sure, because I'm going to be coming back and watching some things and taking some notes. And I know you. So, but yeah. So
go ahead, Brian.
The concept of giving a person a fish feeds them for a day, giving them teaching them how to fish feeds them for a lifetime, right?
Yes. Yes.
I sense that's a little bit of the concept, right? Is that you guys are teaching of fishing lessons, but then you're the actual fisherman or fishing expedition going out and making it happen, right?
That's part of it, but it's also, if you've thought you learned how to fish, but you weren't all that productive and it wasn't that effective, how do we get you into a position where we change the way you fish so that you can live it, learn it, adapt to it, and be so confident of it, you're not even aware that you're doing it, that it's an automatic process that you engage in, that you have that automatic response to it. So it's that competence and that confidence that's true and internalized, and so you can go forth and perform your best. So there's another doctor out there who also inspires me. It's Nate Zinzer, and he's from West Point, and he works with Olympians and Eli Manning and other greats like that. And he talks about that magic combination of the two. So that's what we're looking to do.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. I like that. So we do have, as part of the show, we do have commercial sponsors that, pay really top dollar to be on our show. And we like to give them some love. So we're going to run some commercials real quick. On the back end, I do want to dive into something that you touched on earlier, Monica, and you said, your industry has gotten a bit of a bad name, bad reputation, which is true for several of our industries, right? So my own included. So I do want to dive into that topic and see how that challenges you from a marketing standpoint on the back end of this commercial break.
Okay.
Today's show is brought to you by the following small businesses.
Liberator Health Insurance, the best value in the health insurance industry. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to hear about an alternative to your current health insurance? How about an average of around 30 to 50% savings on your premiums? At Liberator Health Insurance, you can see any doctor, any hospital, small copays, and low deductibles. And there is no referral to see a specialist, all with very affordable premiums. For a quick quote, call or text Greg Holberg today at 214-886-4688.
And by Wines with an Appeal. Wines with an Appeal offers entertaining and educational wine tasting events to help you fundraise, recognize your clients, or just have a fun night out with friends. At our fundraising events, we strive to provide a nice variety of reds, whites, sparkling, and dessert wines. We typically offer a good variety of the core varietals, along with some interesting blends. We sample wines from all over the world. Call or email for details on how it works and how your event could be available at no cost to you. And now back to the show.
All right, we're back. So, as I mentioned, you said earlier the potential stain or bad reputation that may be present in your industry caused by most likely the select few, but it's permeated its way across the industry. That's true in the real estate world as well, specifically in property management. We get some bad rap out there, and it's usually not the majority of the folks who are offenders. It's usually the minority that give the bad name. Obviously, the industry and the global environment that we operate in can impact that as well. But so tell me a little bit about what I'll say, the bad reputation. What does that mean from your industry standpoint? And we can kick that around, Stephen. You're wearing multiple hats, so you're either business consulting or building your own personal bank. So you've got nice complementary pieces there. So, but Monica, I want to hear your take on the bad reputation that's potentially developed, and then how do we overcome that from a marketing standpoint?
Okay, so for many years, when I first started in the industry a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, my niche wound up becoming the advisor that took on the cases that were difficult because advisors had made mistakes, or advisors had not necessarily put the client first, or had not listened to what the client really needed and made choices that didn't make sense. And so it becomes it's a lot more challenging because you have to start from a position of people don't trust because they've been burned. And then there's also the fact that other people hear the horror stories from others. What is it in real estate? They say one good experience will be told to 5 people. One bad experience will be told to 20 or 25. When you're dealing with people's money, you have to remember that you're dealing with their ability to take care of themselves and their families. Okay, so there has to be oversight. There has to be concern. And it's completely and totally appropriate. And the regulators do their best. And almost all of the firms have compliance divisions, and they try so hard to do the right thing and to stop the bad behavior where they see it, and to create firewalls wherever they can to protect the client. Some are better than others at this. Some of them spend more time and more effort on this. It's a question of, in my opinion, 2 things. One, the more informed the client is, the more educated the client is, the better the client will be for themselves, and it's easier for me. So I work with people and I start from this position of, okay, let's find out the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's find out what happened. And usually when somebody comes in to me through that, it's usually because I have been referred, whether it's been through an attorney, through a CPA, through whatever business relationship it's been. It's, okay, there's a problem. Talk to her. Let's see if it can be dealt with. And then I really want to know what went wrong. Why did it go wrong? Okay. And then how do you feel about it? It's not my judging them. It's not my disparaging them. Let's find out from the client's perspective or the client's trustee or the client's CPA what really happened. And then we take a look at the portfolio. And I've sat with people and worked through what's been going on within the portfolio, what's been going on with the larger planning. And that's part of the whole process. It's building trust is something that takes time, and it should take time. And I've said to clients, it's like, no, make me earn your trust. Trust has to be earned every single day. I need to meet your needs every single day. Let's do it. And if I'm not the right person for you, that's okay. Let's find somebody else who is. But from a marketing standpoint, when you come at it from the perspective, there are a lot of people who come in and they're arrogant and they sell themselves hard. And once somebody has been burned, that's an immediate turnoff. That is an immediate shutdown. And it should be. Okay. It should be. So from a marketing standpoint, I can't make promises. I can't tell you that I'm going to earn you a specific return. I can't tell you that this is absolutely going to happen. I can't. So when somebody gives you that kind of a promise or makes that kind of a snake oil representation, back off and walk away.
Run, don't walk, run.
Right. And if somebody makes a promise that they can't keep or does something you don't like, complain.
Right.
Okay. Right. You have the right to. But the fact of the matter is the first and best defense is for the buyer to beware and to educate himself or herself. Okay. And that's part of the reason why, for example, I've always worked well with the client team. So if the client has a CPA they really trust, great. If the client has an attorney they really trust and they want me to work with them, I'm great with that. Okay. And there are going to be times when we are going to work together and my ego is going to be parked at the sidewalk because there's something else that's a bigger priority. And working with the client and at the client's instruction, we work together. So from a marketing standpoint, it's always about trust and it's always about prior experiences. And it's always about, do I understand them? And is there that faith that I'm actually putting them first from day one? So
I like that.
Go
ahead, Stephen. Go ahead.
So two things come up. One, I don't know if you heard of this person. His name was Ronald Reagan. And Gorbachev, he would just say Gorbachev all the time. I trust you, but I'm going to verify. And that's what you're saying. Trust, but verify. And you have to be educated. You have to learn to educate yourself to do that. Right. And so that's one of the things. And I can't remember the second thing. So I'm just going to say that was really only the one thing that I meant to say. It'll come back to me. But you said something else that I was like, holy crap. I hope I remember that. Can I say that on this? Are we like child proof? Anyway,
you can even say worse than crap. You can say shit. You can say whatever.
Oh yeah. But that's about the limit of my vulgarity. But yeah, so trust and verify. And that's everything that you said is what you do for your clients. They ask you a question, you trust your answers, but you verify it, you or your team, right? Yeah. So I think that's pretty brilliant. And you're right, Brian, and the reason I've been looking off to the side isn't because I'm ignoring anybody. It's because I have two computers. I couldn't figure out how to get it on this computer. So I've got a slide deck over on this other side, but storytelling was what we talked about earlier.
Right.
And if you don't know anything about storytelling, there's a book called The Magic Slice, which is huge. Oh, and this reminds me of the other thing. Put your ego to the side, right? Mm-hmm. There's a book also, and I highly advise everybody to read it, called Ego is the Enemy. And it's amazing. I read it and I was like, holy crap, I didn't think I had an ego, but I do. I have a pretty big one, right? We all do it. It's okay to have an ego, but it's not okay to let that, like you said, you got to put that ego to the side sometimes, right? You got to do what's right for the client. And that can get tough. And if you don't study that kind of stuff, it happens. So anyway, ego is the enemy. I mean, I can't tell you how many times somebody has said something to me, and it's not because it was right or wrong. It's because it was their ego. They couldn't let it stand, right? Which is right. It's fine. I don't care. But that's some brilliant stuff. But you see, now we're still talking about the very first thing that we talked about. It's all in the psychology. It's all the emotions back here that rule everything, right? The facts just decide. They tell you why your emotional cognitive ability made that decision, right? The emotion made the decision. The cognitive said, yeah, this is why. cognitive didn't make the decision. The emotion did.
No, never. Well, and here's the problem, and
so-
here's the danger. When it comes to money, because it is so elemental, there's this one attorney who wrote, she was in a sex cult. She was raised in one. Her parents were in one when she was born. And as part of her healing process, she wrote this very long article, and it was basically boiled down to the fact that she said she had to come up with a boundary system. So your body encases your spirit, your soul, okay? And your body is the encasement for it. You own that 100%. She then drew a circle around that, and that circle represented her labor and anything she owned. So the fruits of her tree and her branches of her tree. And she's an attorney, so obviously she put it in those terms. And then she did another circle around that, and she titled that the deal. And that was the ability to interface with anybody else about any part of her labor, anything she owned, or herself personally. And that until the day she died, she would own the rights to herself, her body, her soul, her labor, and all of her personal belongings. And that's how she saw it, and her ability to interface with and engage in the deal and negotiate. But when you think about it, money is the tool that permeates all of those circles. Money is the way you interface in the deal. Money is the way you acquire property, okay, through the fruits of your labor. And then money is the way you care for the body that houses the soul. And so if you don't take ownership of your money, you are basically handing over to someone else or to others your ability to do any of those things. Furthermore, and I'll say this much, because this is such a difficult and important issue, because this represents your ability to care for yourself and for your family, your emotions are engaged. And advisors know this. And so we're trained in the art of selling. And a lot of people are trained in the art of selling more than they're trained in the art of what they're doing with the financial management or with the financial planning, two different sides of the same coin. And so it's really important for clients to understand, and to stop and assess, am my emotions being engaged, but does what they're saying make sense to me? Do I understand it? Are they using real language? Are they using 1 and 2 syllable words? If there's more than that, if it's jargon, make them stop and say, use real language, make sure I can understand this, and then look it up. Go home, Google it, or pick up your phone and say, okay, you said this term. Do I understand it? Does this make sense? Is this accurate? Okay. Do your own research and double check, because those emotional centers that are the back of the brain are engaged by what advisors are trained to do. And that's so key. That's any advisor who wants you to sign on the dotted line the first time you see them, stop and think before you do it. It's sort of like, why? What am I responding to? What are the emotional cues?
Yeah, it's that reference to the snake oil, right? So you may be a great salesman and sell you some snake oil, but you get, and like you said, Stephen, trust but validate. So a couple of nuggets I took out of there. There was a lot to take. Those very well said. I hear in your marketing strategy, you utilize a team, you utilize business partners. So I heard CPAs, I heard attorneys that reference or refer business over to you based on people that have had poor experiences in their past. That's a unique position to be in, because you can kind of come in as that healer role, if you will.
I don't want that role, but okay, I don't want that.
Hey, I mean, for lack of a better term, right? But and along with that comes needs analysis, right? So you have to, and that all goes around the building of trust, right? You have to know what people need or what their needs are in order to help get them to what their needs are and what their goals are, right? Education's a big part of your marketing strategy, is what I heard, what you say earlier. And then, teamwork, like I said, having that team that can help you. Once you identify those needs and start putting those puzzle pieces together, you can then direct to the right resource on your team, right?
Right.
Did I say that all correctly?
I think that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Stephen, what were you thinking?
We're talking about marketing, but before you can get to marketing, there's one thing that, you can market to everybody. And if you market to everybody, you market to nobody.
Right.
You gotta have an avatar that is so specific that nobody can argue with you. It's like, I would, and 99% of the population says, I would not use her. that means you're going to have 1% of almost 8 billion people now that want it. I mean, that's plenty of fish out there, right? And so,
absolutely.
So avatar training is huge, looking, making it down, not to, I want 35 to 50 living at this and doing that. But I mean, take it down to the part of, do they have a horse ranch? Did they live on a ranch? Do they like scuba diving? What is it? And I always say when you do your avatar training, talk to the people that make you happy. I love to talk to people that have a horse ranches. We used to have horse ranches. My story. I used to ride horses since I was 2 years old. I broke Arabian horses and trained them. I mean, so anybody that has a ranch or a horse ranch, man, we're automatic. One time a guy was wearing a big guy too, like made you look small, Brian. Okay. I'm just saying, if you saw Brian, you say like, that's not possible, but anyway, I said, hey, is that a real cowboy hat? And it was like, look at me, goes, yeah, I bought this, blah, blah, blah. It's for my ranch. And man, we had a great time. Right. So you find things that you're in common with. There's plenty of fish out there that like to talk about the things that you do. Maybe they have the same type age of children or whatever it is, but you find that area that's so specific that your customer will argue with people that they're sending your way saying, no, I have a financial advisor. No, you don't. And let me tell you what, when they're arguing with their friends about how to use, you've done your job. That you fit that avatar, right? And I'm not saying you don't use other people, but 80% of your bringing in clients should be from that avatar. 20% is your client says, hey, I got a friend. Can you? I don't know. Let's go through the strategy session and find out, right? But so anyway, the avatar training is huge. Actually, you know what? I screwed up on the Stephen Weaver. I build your own personal. It's supposed to be banks. I just sent. And by the way, our producer is amazing, but he's only as smart as we are. And sometimes I'm not that great on this kind of thing. So I put the wrong thing in. He did the right thing. I did the wrong thing. But anyway, if you send and say if you just put either A, want my book on how to build your own banks, or B, you want that avatar training so that you can market to the right people, just put avatar in the subject line, and I'll send you a free worksheet on that, and you can walk it through. It'll be invaluable. It's the first place that I start with everybody when I do my business consulting. Another thing is books, right? You don't have to write like this book that you're about to get. It's not a book. It's a booklet. It's got like the 12 questions that people ask about my profession, right? And it answers those, and it gets you inside. And if you read the book, you'll see it's all storytelling, right? Yeah. Story sell, facts tell. So it's all storytelling. So you can hit emotionally with it. You go, oh, that makes sense. Ooh, I'd never want that to happen to me. Ooh, I want that to happen to me, right? So you don't go into that, oh, this is what I do, and you give all it. That's boring, right? Okay, we're gonna get to two more things, and then we're gonna get back to the show. Sorry, Brian, I took your show over again. Damn it, I do that every year. Anyway, LinkedIn is for business people. I probably get 2 to 3 calls, or I have 2 to 3 appointments a day off of LinkedIn. And so I guess that would be the third thing. If you want to talk to me about that, I can talk to you about that. Or just look me up on LinkedIn, Stephen Beaver. I'm the guy you can't miss me, literally. This is my shirt, right? So, but now here's the last thing for marketing. When is the last time you picked up the phone and called all your customers and said, hey, just thought I'd see how you were doing? If you got 100 customers that you've ever had of your lifetime or more, and you start doing just that, you'll run across someone that say, oh, I'm so glad you called. I forgot we got this project on. I didn't even think about it. Could you come over today? I mean, or let me send this stuff to you. You'd be surprised at just calling your customers. If you don't have them on a drip campaign, we got to, please, right? But just pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone and spend an hour a day, just an hour a day. And I promise you, after 2 weeks, a month tops, you'll be extremely, extremely busy. And these are not warm leads. Those are hot leads because they've used you. They love you. Brian, do you have any repeat business, or does everybody just buy one time from you? Yeah, exactly what I'm saying, right? Okay, Monica, the same thing. Everybody's the same. Referral business is the number one thing. But guess what? Your customers are the ones that are giving the referrals. So shouldn't you pay more attention to them than the cold call or the person that just walked in the door and said, what's your best price, right? So anyway, there's my soapbox. I can stop looking over here so much. Actually, you know what? I'm going to pan down. Oops, I got two mouses. That's the wrong one. All right, so why narrow it down? All right, here we go. Marketing gets easier. So you don't have to market I don't have to market to a plumber. Maybe.
Oh, hold on, Steven. Time out. We got commercial break coming up. So on the back end, let's cover that.
And then I was going to give you the last digits for, the lotto.
Today's show is brought to you by the following small businesses.
Liberator Health Insurance, the best value in the health insurance industry. Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Would you like to hear about an alternative to your current health insurance? How about an average of around 30 to 50% savings on your premiums? At Liberator Health Insurance, you can see any doctor, any hospital, small copays, and low deductibles. And there is no referral to see a specialist, all with very affordable premiums. For a quick quote, call or text Greg Holberg today at 214-886-4688.
And by Wines with an Appeal. Wines with an Appeal offers entertaining and educational wine tasting events to help you fundraise, recognize your clients, or just have a fun night out with friends. At our fundraising events, we strive to provide a nice variety of reds, whites, sparkling, and dessert wines. We typically offer a good variety of the core varietals, along with some interesting blends. We sample wines from all over the world. Call or email for details on how it works and how your event could be available at no cost to you. And now back to the show.
And so if you put that number in, you'll win the lotto, guaranteed. Okay, so did everybody get that?
See what you missed when you go to commercial break?
Just telling you. All right, so where I was at, why narrow down your avatar to such a ridiculous a place? First reason, marketing gets easier. You talk to the same type of person, you know what they're going to say. You don't have to worry about it, Oops.
He's gone. He just cut himself out. Well, hey, what I wanted to do on the back end of the commercial break that I wanted to say before we cut to it is, Monica, this always resonates well with our audience. I love, and myself personally, I always love to hear how our guests got into what they do and how did you start? So I know you said it was a long time ago, but we won't say how long. But everybody kind of has a weaving path usually. Tell us how you got there, and you've been doing it for a long time, so you love it. So tell us about your history and the passion that keeps you going.
Okay, so I started off life in economic research and hated it with a passion. Okay. When you're crunching numbers and it's done for regulatory purposes and it doesn't really affect anybody's life and you're just interfacing with the computer screen all day, it's not good for my psyche. Okay. I need to feel like I'm actually having an impact on what I'm doing, that my work matters on some levels. So I left economic research, started working with women entrepreneurs. Had 2 children and then went abroad and wound up working while abroad in Israel with women entrepreneurs. My husband was there for work, and that was a real education. I had a great opportunity to interface with some very powerful women, and watching them overcome cultural issues, structural issues, many, many different issues, and helping them craft strategies to do that. I came back and one of my best friends who was in the industry said, go for it. So I got my life insurance license and turned around and joined a firm and started off at Merrill Lynch and got really at the time what was best in class training. And what I loved about them in hindsight was that they understood what made advisors tick. They understood when people would succeed and when people wouldn't. And so they set up bumper rails along the side to actually empower us to succeed and to take away temptations to not do the right things. Okay. Now, on the other hand, it wasn't the most fabulous environment for me. I was the only woman at my level. And that was part of the reason why I took a break. And I came back I was bored, moved to Texas. We'd moved around a little bit, and I moved to Texas, and I'd been working on doing some financial education for kids and developing a program to teach kids what I called economic and financial reality. What you earn is what you earn isn't what you actually get to take home, that different things happen. And, you know, sort of saying to a kid, hey, you have a Starbucks on your desk. What did it take for your parents to be able to give you the money to buy that Starbucks, and engaging the kids into that? Or my favorite story was that sitting in front of a bunch of them at the first class. The head of the middle school did not want me there, but there I was. And the head of the entire school program had said, Monica, do this with us. And so I had against the wall this huge whiteboard, and I said, all right, tell me what you want in your life. And the boys gave me a couple of things, and then the girls took off, and a lot of them could describe the airplane, the cars, the houses, the jewelry, the clothing, the furs, all of it. And they were able to describe it, and I put it on the whiteboard, and it covered a huge wall. I mean, we're not talking a little wall, a huge wall, top to bottom. And the boys are sitting there getting really uncomfortable in their chairs. And this one girl, she was the popular kid in the class, the popular girl sitting next to the popular boy, and they're sitting real close to each other. And I turned to them and I said, okay, how are you going to pay for it? And this girl turned and said, I'm going to marry someone and he'll buy it for me. And the boy sitting next to her, stereotypical, turned around and said, good luck with that. And his entire body shifted away from her. Head of the middle school was in the back of the room, doubled up in a tiny little ball, laughing, trying hard not to. And then we took it from there. And so I wound up doing that. And then a couple of the CPAs that I used to work with, who cared about me a great deal and trusted me, said, hey, we've got a bunch of angel investing opportunities. Our clients keep getting hit with these. We don't have the time to assess them. We're going to hand them off to you. You get to assess them. If they need to be reworked, rework them. If they need to be rebuilt, rebuild them. You'll get paid on whatever gets financed. And so I did that. And I had the opportunity to redo a couple of big projects that, you know, some of them didn't get financed, which was appropriate when you look at the numbers, but some of them are still waiting to see if this all gets completed. And I realized the lag time on that was so enormous, and the money was great. It was like wildcatting. But I would much rather own my own business, interface with my own clients, have sort of control over my destiny, that I didn't want to be a wildcatter, that I wanted to get back to dealing with regular people in regular situations. So that's when I said, all right, it's time for me to get my licenses back and to come back in. So that's how I got started. I will tell you that along the way, my husband had to take another position and wound up abroad. And I had the opportunity to just step back and say, okay, I've been out and then I came back in. What's right with the industry? What's wrong? And what's wrong is the lack that people don't know how to interface with it. But the only way to fix that is to empower and change and help change the average client. And so that's when I came up with the idea of coming up with the structure with the psychological empowerment and support, along with the information, so that people can live the changes and actually do them. And that's when I started going down that pathway. So this has been a long progression of development, and I guess it always is. But I really want to see, my passion is to see people change their relationships with money, to feel empowered, to take mastery of those tools, and to not be afraid. Okay, that's the goal.
That is awesome. Okay, so tons to peel out of that. I love. I mean, that is a fantastic goal. I mean, I love it because, and you can tell when you were talking about I'm passionate about this as well. The education of the youth, right? And money matters. It just doesn't exist in schools. I mean, to some degree, it does. They talk about what is currency, how to count it, right? But it's like, okay, beyond that, like you said, a Starbucks sitting on the table. What is that worth? What did it take to get there?
Right.
And what do you give up by buying a Starbucks versus brewing your own coffee, right? It just very simple monetary concepts. That's a great story too, by the way. I'm going to find somebody to pay for. I'm going to marry somebody to pay for it all. But I love that, and that's like you said, it's been a bit of a weaving road, but it gets you to the point of, okay, now you have a specific goal that you are passionate about and you want to roll with. So, I love those stories. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for giving me the chance. I've seen parents try to teach their kids that, quote unquote, that getting somebody to take care of them is a goal. And I've heard this. I still have heard this even in this day and age. And I really regret that. I really feel that people need to be able to take care of themselves. And when they do that, they wind up in stronger relationships. So, and when you're an advisor and you see somebody who's never managed their money and they wind up in a position where they have no choice, it can be quite devastating. Okay. Don't infantilize people. Give them empowerment so that they can actually do it. They can do it. Okay. I mean, obviously, if there's a situation where someone has diminished capacity and can't, that's different. But don't start off, unless you know that that's an issue, don't start off with the position that they can't do it or that they shouldn't, and therefore they won't. So.
Yeah, no doubt. And I like that empowerment factor. I like the change agent aspect of what you talked about, and how you're looking to change the relationship and the future outlook. I love that. So that's awesome.
Well, thank you.
And Stephen, welcome back. You disappeared there for a little bit, and you got, I think you probably know some more of Monica's story, certainly than I did before having her on the show, but you missed some pretty awesome stuff. She shared a bit about her past and how she got to where she's at. So
that's okay. While I was off, I made sure, because, I'm a techie person, as you can tell, I made sure that this was being recorded so I can go back and actually catch up to you. So you do not have one on me for much longer. Okay.
Okay. Well, I think I've got one up on you for an hour, because I don't think it publishes officially recorded, at least for an hour. So I got you for an hour.
Can't wait. Monica, what are you doing after this? Right. Oh, no, I got another appointment after this. Damn it. All right.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, we are coming up against it on our time factor here, but is there anything else that you want to add, Stephen, Monica? I really am thankful for you coming on today. Thank you for sharing your story, and then certainly all the insights about your industry too. Because I one nugget that you had mentioned before about the trust factor, and you have an even bigger pile of money or pile of assets that you have to plan for and manage, right? I'm in a similar boat as far as somebody coming to me and saying, we want you and your company to manage one of our largest assets in most cases in our portfolio, or multiple assets, our property, right? So that trust factor is huge. I think the other thing that you mentioned too, having those trusted partners that you work with, either from a referral standpoint or that you can refer to, certainly helps. Bringing it back to our marketing topic, right? If you have those partners and you have that teamwork and team in place, that helps your marketing cause that much more. And frankly, it's always easier to get a referral from somebody like, and trust, and vice versa, right, than it is to go out and try to share your message to a cold ear,
Well, and to be fair, Brian, I also have had a lifelong mentor who's been in property management. She was up in the Northeast, and she's now down in Florida. And I've learned a lot from her. And it's a question of, we can learn a lot from each other, and we can always take lessons from other people. We don't have to go through the pain of doing it on our own. And property management is a huge deal. It's a very big and very tough and difficult thing. And it's something that, I respect enormously. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I would just like to add, seriously, out of everything that we talked about, pick up the phone, spend an hour talking with past clients, or future ones if you want, but just pick up the phone. I'm telling you, an hour a day, in 2 weeks, you're going to be busier than you think. I'm joking, but it's not. It's okay. I'll give you a month if you're really, really bad, but you'll get better as you every time you make a call. You go, oh, I should have said this, should have that. Pick up the phone and start calling.
Good advice. I like it. On that note, let's wrap the show. Again, Monica, thank you for coming on today. It was a pleasure to meet you. Pleasure to hear your story. Thank you for sharing. Stephen, as always, good to see you, my friend. Even if you did cut out on me for a little bit, it's all good.
Trying to give you more time on there because you don't get enough.
Right. Well, for those who want more airtime, come on next week, next Thursday. We're here every Thursday except for the months that we have 5 weeks, which happens to be this one. But again, we had a bonus week this month. So again, thanks to our guests, thanks to our sponsors, and let's see you next week, same time, Thursday, 2 to 3 p.m.
Thank you, gentlemen.